Hi, my name is Lavender and my pronouns are they, them. Today I'm going to be talking about realizing that I'm autistic. And I've been autistic my whole life and didn't know. So before I get into everything, I'm going to give a couple disclaimers. The first is that I am very new to the autistic community, and if I say something wrong or use the wrong terminology or anything, let me know. It was an oopsie. Sorry. I wanted to talk about self-diagnosis and why I support self-diagnosis, why I'm self-diagnosed, why I think it's valid, and why I think it's important and necessary. So the last video I made was about how I was essentially self-diagnosed as schizophrenic for 5 years because I was refused a diagnosis and misdiagnosed for so long. Yeah, it's basically because our society and healthcare system is very ableist and bigoted, and our society doesn't really have an understanding of what autism is and the spectrum of how different it can look in so many different people. Yeah, I just think that with my experience with schizophrenia and knowing for so long that I'm schizophrenic, knowing more about schizophrenia than some of the doctors that I've seen, I kind of see autism the same way. And I think, especially with autism, because it isn't a disorder, it's just a neurotype. I'm not going to get treatment for it, I don't need medication for it. I really like the autistic community and how accepting a lot of people are of self-diagnosis, because it is necessary in a society that diminishes autistic people. The doctors that are diagnosing you are probably ableist. They probably don't even like autistic people. So I don't want to put myself through that again. Diagnosis is essentially researching everything yourself, realizing yourself, knowing yourself, who you are. All I would be doing is giving away my power. That's how I feel. I've already done everything internally, and then I would just be taking the things that I've noticed in myself and going to a doctor and saying, hey, do you agree with me? And then they would say yes or no, and they might say no based on their own biases. And that's not something that I want to go through. I don't want to be invalidated. That being said, don't diagnose yourself based off of TikToks or based off of this video or any one video. I think that's kind of obvious. I think most people know that. I think people overestimate the amount of people that are misdiagnosing themselves, basically. It's not just random people, random teenagers on Tumblr that think it would be cute and quirky to have a disorder. Self-diagnosis is just as valid as an official diagnosis a lot of the times. A lot of times it might even be more valid. Doctors are not infallible people. They misdiagnose people a lot, especially if that person is also marginalized in some other way. So I'm gonna talk about how I realized that I'm autistic. So basically it was one thing that happened. My friend was kind of venting to me, and I was kind of thinking in my head, how can I appear sympathetic? How should I change the tone of my voice to sound like I am empathizing and perform that correctly? And I was like, that's not normal. And I'm not sure what brought me to that realization, but before, I've had a lot of people ask me if I'm autistic. A lot of the times it's because I stim a lot, and I always assumed that my stimming and a lot of my autistic traits that I have were because of my other diagnoses. And then I kind of just fell down this rabbit hole of researching autism. I got very hyper fixated on it. Yeah, so basically for 2 weeks straight, all I thought about was autism. All I did was research autism. Over the past probably less than 2 months, I've just had so much of a better understanding of what autism is, because I really think that I didn't understand it, and I think that's bad, and I really want to raise more awareness, because I literally thought that autism was the stereotypical way that people talk about autism. Like, you know, you like trains, or like not trains, but you have one thing that you're obsessed with and you just love that thing, you know everything about that thing, and you are maybe like nerdy and socially awkward, you might talk differently, and then, you know, I knew about stimming and all of that. But I really thought of autism as not a spectrum. Like, I had heard people call it a spectrum, but I didn't understand what that actually meant. Like, I think I kind of saw it as like less autistic to more autistic, like that line, which is not how it works and super cringe. And I was aware of, like, you know, the wheel where it's like, you know, you have a bunch of different traits and you might have that trait more or less. What really made me realize how big of a spectrum it is that it's not like I don't have this trait or I really have this trait. Like, it's I really, really do this thing or I really, really don't. Like the complete opposite. And neurotypical people are somewhere in the middle. Like someone that's autistic might make super forced eye contact, like just stare you down. And then some people don't make eye contact at all. And then there's people all in between, and then neurotypical people would be somewhere in the middle, like they make normal eye contact, whatever that means. And then there's also people that mask and might be able to make eye contact really well. And it's just like, why didn't anyone tell me that? Or like someone could be um, super sensitive to stimuli and like not want anything to touch them, or someone could really like, you know, like being squished. Like those are completely opposite things. That why didn't anyone tell me that? So many of the traits that I heard of were only like the most stereotypical version. And I didn't fit into all that, especially as someone who's high masking, because I hide a lot of these traits. And whenever I learned what masking was, I was like, this isn't what I thought it was. I'm not just socially anxious. I'm not just socially awkward. I'm literally doing a performance all the time. I'm anxious because I'm masking and I'm aware of if I'm making the right expressions, if the tone of my voice sounds right, if my body language is correct, if I'm understanding the other person, like all of these things. Autistic people don't do that. And I didn't realize that. I thought that was like normal. I didn't know that that was an autistic thing. So yeah, and one of the things that I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to go through the different autistic traits and talk about how I experience them, and what they look like in me. I'm also going to link some content creators that I really liked that helped me learn a lot of stuff. And then I'm going to link this autism test that I did. This is another thing that I think is really, really interesting. Autism tests suck. They suck so bad. Like the questions they ask are not written in a way that are easy to understand for autistic people, because we have like literal thinking, or we need a lot of context, or we overthink things. Like those questions, this is an example everyone used, but do you prefer libraries or parties? And it's like, well, what kind of library? What am I doing there? Who's there? What about the party? Who's there? Does it involve my interests? Whatever, whatever. But there's other tests. One of my friends sent me this autism test that makes sense and includes masking as a possibility for something that you can do. So yeah, that was really helpful. And whenever I went through that one that had questions that made sense and weren't based off of stereotypes, I was like, oh shit. Like I'm saying the autistic thing for every single one of these questions. So I'm going to go through my different traits and talk about each one of them because I think it would be fun. I'm kind of like, I don't know, very interested in autism in a probably autistic way right now. Like, I just really like it. I don't know why. I'm like that with schizophrenia too. Like, I know so much about schizophrenia. I research it so much. I really like it. I can talk about it forever. I get really excited about it. Autism's my new schizophrenia. This is another thing. You can literally look up the diagnostic criteria for any illness, and I looked mine up and I fit the qualification. and I'm unbiased and perfect. So what helped me understand the diagnostic criteria was Yosemite Sam's video. I will link it because the way they talk is very confusing, and my ADHD ass cannot read. I can't read. Also, the way that the autistic diagnostic criteria is written is in a very pathologizing and fucked up way that makes autism seem like some sort of disease or disorder or like something wrong with you. Like they say things like abnormalities and like all this weird shit, and it's just like it's just a different type of guy. So here are my autistic traits. I'm just going based off of my notes for what the diagnostic criteria is. So don't take, like, this is very, very simplified, and I wrote this specifically in a way for me to understand it, and it's very brief. One of the things is that you have to have these traits throughout your entire life. So it's not from, you know, something different like trauma or getting punched in the head really hard. One of the things is that you have to have difficulty with social interactions. This is one of the things that confuses me. The way I think about it is that you have trouble with social interactions in an autistic way. It's different than social anxiety, and it took me a long time to figure out the fucking difference because I was mistaking my autism as social anxiety, and I still have anxiety, but it's because I'm trying to force myself to act different than I am. Which is stressful. It's stressful because you don't want someone to see under your mask, under your facade. And usually people do. They just think I'm kind of weird or awkward. Nobody, that's a lie. People clock me as autistic all the time, but now I can say, yes, that's what it is. So here's some things that I wrote down for myself. With social interaction that I have trouble with. Tone of voice and volume. Yeah. I've noticed so many things. Like I just have like a giant list of different traits and different experiences. But for volume, I speak very quietly a lot of the time, and people say that I mumble. People say that they can't understand me, they can't hear me. A lot of the times, whenever like someone says like, "Oh, how are you?" I say, "Good." Good. And sometimes they don't hear me, and I don't realize that people don't hear me, and I don't know how to understand whether or not someone can hear me or understand me. I don't really understand how to control my voice, and I don't understand the situations where I'm supposed to whisper or where I'm supposed to talk louder. I just kind of talk how I want to talk. And it's wrong a lot of the time. Or like whenever I was at work, me and my friend would, you know, tell a lot of inappropriate jokes, and I would be talking so loud, and he's just, or like laugh really loud, or like swear, or like, you know, tell a inappropriate joke, and he's like, people can hear you, and I just like, oh yeah, oh yeah, like I have to keep reminding myself because I don't just naturally think keep your voice down when you're talking about bad things in front of customers. And I would do that at restaurants with my dad. Like we would just have conversations and he'd be like, shh, like there's old people there. You can't talk about that. And I'm just like, why? How can they hear me? And then tone of voice. This is another thing. I didn't think that I was autistic because I understand sarcasm and I understand jokes. And then I realized I don't. My Nana will make a joke and I don't understand that it's a joke so often. Or like she'll say something and be like, I wasn't being serious, or like I was being sarcastic, or whatever, whatever. And I realized that I can't tell by the tone of people's voices. I can't tell really. It's mostly whenever people are like faking an emotion. I can't tell that they're faking it. And I realized that I really rely on other things to kind of understand the world because I can't tell by people's tones. So I have to think like, does the thing they said make sense? Is it more likely that they're joking? Why would they joke about that? Like, Is that funny? Should I laugh? Like, I have to think about my response. I also have trouble with my tone of voice, like I said at the beginning of the video, like trying to sound like I'm sad. I think a lot of the time my voice is very monotone if I'm not interested in something. This is another thing. Autistic people are very interest-based. All I care about is my special interests. Like, that's why I think I talk like I do in YouTube videos, but like, if I'm not interested in something, I am very monotone and blunt and kind of deadpan, and I'm just like, hey Lavender, what are you doing? Nothing. What'd you do today? Nothing. Man, it's pretty hot out, huh? Yeah. Like, that's literally how I talk to people. I did not realize until I realized that I was autistic that that's not the response you're supposed to do. And so many of the times that I've gotten in trouble for being rude to people or whatever is literally just because I'm autistic and didn't know how you're supposed to do it. I don't know what you're supposed to say to that. It's hot out. Yeah, it is. Thanks for telling, like, I still don't understand. What's the purpose? That's another thing. Autistic people don't like small talk. They don't like pointless conversation. Why would you like pointless conversations? Okay. And then one of the other things for social interaction is eye contact. A lot of autistic people struggle with eye contact. I don't know if I call it a struggle. I think you should just not have to do it if you don't want to. I don't think it's rude to not stare and gaze into somebody's eyes. I don't like making eye contact. Something that I realized is I really like to focus on one sense at a time. Like, if somebody's talking to me, I'm not looking. I am not looking at them. I'm not looking at their expressions. I'm focusing on the words that are coming out of their mouth. Like, I don't look at people's faces unless I'm not understanding what they're saying based on their words. If they pause for a long time, I might look at their expression to see if they're doing, like, you know, some kind of gesture or something, which is really funny to just not look at people. I would go to my Nana's house or something. That's where I live now, but she would come pick me up or something to go somewhere, and we would be in the car for like an hour, and she would be like, did you notice my new haircut? And I'm like, no, I didn't look at you until just now because you told me to. Like, I just don't naturally look at people unless I have a reason to. I don't understand why you need to stare at someone's face while they're talking. And that's another thing, like with YouTube videos, I watch a lot of YouTube videos without looking at them. I watch movies and TV shows without looking at them a lot of time, which also could be an ADHD kind of thing because I want to be doing something else. Like, it's so boring to just sit there completely still and stare at a screen. I'm not. No. I also noticed that even whenever I'm masking, which I'm high masking, I don't think I'm that good at masking, to be honest, for how many like little problems that I've had in my life because I'm not acting the way I'm supposed to. But my idea of making eye contact is like pretty much what I'm doing in this video. Like, whenever I look here, I'm looking at myself in the camera. That's eye contact. I think in videos, I make eye contact with myself in the camera instead of the lens, which you're supposed to do, and I refuse. That's the most eye contact I make with anyone other than Bubba, the dog. I look at him, and he's a dog, so I don't think that counts. But with other people, I really, really have to force myself. And I only really force myself if I feel like I have to, like in a job interview or like with, you know, my boss or something like that. Like, and my idea of eye contact is literally not looking at them the entire time, glancing up at them, literally locking eyes with them once and then looking away. And then if I do it once, I'm like, did it. Eye contact. Score, I fucking did it. Like, that's, I literally think it's looking, and I get confused too about which eye you're supposed to look at because you can't, both of the eyes aren't looking into your eye. You have to figure out which one is looking at. And then I saw this TikTok that was like, autistic people take the term eye contact literally, and they think it means literally looking at somebody's eyeball whenever it means looking at their expression. And I was like, fuck. What do you mean? And then I wrote manual social cues. That's, yeah. Everything that I do socially is manual. Like things that holistic people just naturally do. I have to think about it if it's what I'm supposed to be doing, and do it. And if they're, saying a certain thing or having some kind of expression or something, I have to think about, why they're doing that, what is the most likely thing that they're thinking and trying to convey and feeling and whatever. And I have to figure out all of that shit manually. I hate that. This is another thing with other autistic people. It's very easy to interact with them and have conversations with them. But like, how's the weather? Like, I can't talk about the weather one more time. I can't. But yeah, I think about every single movement that I make. And the times that this is why I want to work on unmasking, because the times that I'm most comfortable and not anxious is whenever I don't have to think about every single move that I'm making. And oh my God, whenever I can just directly ask people, are you mad? Are you making a joke? I do that all the time with my family. Is that a joke? Is that a joke? And they're like, yes. And I'm like, ha, that's funny. Like, it's so much easier. And it's so easy to accommodate autistic people because you literally just have to be direct and honest. And then the next thing is that you have to have divergent body language and facial expressions. I think I've already explained that, like, yes. And then you have to have 2 out of 4 of the following traits, which is stimming, having a need for routine or sameness, sensory differences, and special interests. So I'm going to go into each one of these and talk about how I experience them, because I experience them all. I'm going to start with routine and a need for sameness, because this is one that I thought I didn't have, and I even wrote down that I don't have this one. The reason that this one got me is a very autistic reason. The need for routine and sameness. I got stuck on the word need, and I was just like, well, I don't need it. Like, I prefer to have a routine. I prefer when things are the same, but I'm not gonna like flip out if they're not. So like, it's that's not autistic. And it's like you wanting to wear the same shirt for a month straight and getting upset when you have to wear a different shirt, that's needing the same thing. But yeah, I think the reason too that I don't need the same things, like I don't get upset. I don't get that upset. I'm not gonna flip out about it. I don't flip out, and I think it's because of masking and having to mask my need for sameness, and repressing that part of myself. Because like as a kid, my nana always tells this story about how I had to have my socks and shoes put on in a certain order. And I remember I didn't even like, this is also probably a sensory thing, but I hated wearing socks and I hated wearing shoes, and I still do, and I don't most of the time. Footy. I shouldn't have showed my foot on the internet. I would have to have, like right sock, right shoe, left shoe, or something like that. And if she didn't do it that way, I would flip out. I would have a tantrum, probably a meltdown, looking back on it. And there were a lot of different things like that. Like I flipped out whenever my aunt picked me up for the weekend instead of my nana. And then now the need for sameness, I'm really trying to embrace that more, because I think I really force myself to do different things a lot of the time because that's what you're supposed to do, and maybe you'll find something else you like and blah blah blah. And I'm just like, I like the thing that I like. I like the thing that I like. It's like means something to me. Like it feels so much more important than I think it would for a neurotypical person. Like it's very, very comforting to have your same thing. I love it. Like the autistic joy of it all. Like eating the same type of ice cream, the same flavor, the same brand. It's always the same. It's perfect, because then you don't have to, be interrupted with some like disgusting sensory experience of there being too many chocolate chips in your ice cream, or the tiny chocolate chips that get stuck in your teeth. Ew. One of the other things on the list is stimming. I stim all the fucking time, and I always thought it was just because of anxiety or PTSD or just like whatever. It's not. This is another thing I forgot to mention. I thought it was because of my other diagnoses. I have schizoaffective disorder, I have CPTSD, and I thought it was just, that anxiety and stuff like that, just like trying to regulate emotions. And I've been stable for a while. Why'd you look at me like whenever I said stable? He's like, you're stable? I thought it was just from emotional distress, basically. And like, I thought my hyperfixations were just me like coping in a weird way. And then, I've been stable for a while. I haven't really had any symptoms of psychosis for the most part. And then I haven't been very triggered. I've been very chill. And I still have a very long list of neurodivergent traits. So, you know, that kind of made me think, should probably look into that, figure out what that's about. Because it's always been this like mystery in my life. Like there's always been something weird and quirky and different about me, that people would kind of hint at or make fun of me for, but I never had a word for it. And it's very exciting because now I have a word for it. But yeah, stimming. I've stimmed for my whole life. I have so many different stims. I stim whenever I'm happy. I stim whenever I'm sad. I stim whenever I'm bored. Like, I have so many, and I started getting stim toys again, and I'm like very, very happy about it. And in this video, I might stim more because stimming is something that I have like actively repressed, and that's what I'm trying to do with Unmasking is stim. And I get excited about certain topics. I get excited about autism because I like it. And I start to like talk really fast and like smile a lot, and it's hard to talk, and I usually stop myself and like stuff it down and don't stim and just like talk about it in a normal way, because people are like, what is wrong with you? And now I can be like, I'm just autistic, yay. But yeah, I don't know if I should talk about the different, why not, let's talk about her stims. I flap my hands a lot. I shake my head back and forth and like kind of make little like squeaking noises, like that. That's just like, I don't know, like I've always done that. And it's something that I've always tried not to do. This is another thing that I talked about with my like friend mutual or whatever. Like, I used to repress my stims so much that I thought that I had like OCD or something, and like repressing my autistic traits gives me more mental distress than autism itself does. Like, not embracing my autism is harmful, actively harming me. Like, something that I did a lot was like pressing buttons. I would just always press little buttons and like rub my thumb on little anything, like the tip of pens, and I would always have like ink all over my fingers whenever I was a teenager, and I thought there was something wrong with me because I just couldn't stop doing it. And it like really, really stressed me out. Like, I thought it was this huge issue, like I'm having these like compulsions, and it's just like, just allowing myself to stim, like, is, there's nothing wrong with stimming, and it's not bad, but I was just trying to stop it because I was like, this is abnormal. And I had a whole bunch of other stuff wrong with my brain, and eventually realized what it was. But yeah, I have a lot of different stims. I have a lot of different stim toys. I have my caterpillars that I like to rub. I was gonna start talking about sensory seeking stuff, but that's the next thing. I have my fidget cube. I have my squishmallow. I like to play with this guy and like move his little arms around. My little orangutan. Orangutans are my favorite animal. I love animals. I'm gonna talk about my special interest last because it's gonna get me all wound up. But yeah, I have all kinds of stims. I touch my fingers. I wiggle my toes, I bounce my legs, I rock sometimes. So rocking is something that I don't do a lot because like I'm usually laying down like on my back. And then whenever I'm sitting up, it's usually in the car, and I try not to rock because this is another story. I try not to rock because I don't want people to look at me weird and be like, what is wrong with you? Especially lately, a lot of people have been asking me, what is wrong with you? Because I've been embracing my traits more, and I'm realizing more and more why I repressed them in the first place, and it's because our society is not accepting. Yeah, and whenever I was like repressing my rocking, like it feels uncomfortable because stimming is fulfilling a need in autistic people. Like it's I don't know, it's like important for how we regulate our emotions and our bodies and stuff like that. And not being able to do it, like I could literally feel like discomfort in my back, and then like I leaned forward and started like rubbing my back because I could just feel like I wanted to rock and I couldn't. I was just kind of like nodding my head like a tiny bit because I didn't want my grandma to see me. So sensory differences is another trait that you can have. And yes, I have this. So it's either like really, really liking a sensation or really, really not liking a sensation. And I kind of didn't think about liking sensations. Like I always considered, whenever I thought about sensory issues with autism, I just thought, you don't like loud noises. You wear headphones. That's autism. And it's like so much more than that. I thought that I didn't have sensory issues, and now that I'm unmasking my autism and taking care of myself as an autistic person, I'm realizing so many things. Like I literally get pain in my ears, I get headaches, and I got like earplugs, and it's oh my god, it's like a godsend. Like it's so awesome. Like it's perfect. I love it. I want to get like headphones, like noise canceling headphones, because they would work a lot better than just earplugs. Like sensory deprivation, I love it. Like whenever I'm upset about something or like overwhelmed, overstimulated, there's too much noise, there's too much stuff going on, there's too many people, there's too many lights, there's too many whatever, like getting a weighted blanket or like putting my head under a blanket and it just being dark, and I put earplugs in and just kind of sit there and maybe stim and like probably pet like something soft that feels really nice. Oh my god. That's like perfect. I love that. And that's something that I never did and never allowed myself to do because I didn't know I was autistic and I thought it was weird. It is kind of weird. That's a different thing to do, but it's something that's really, really good for some autistic people, and it's really good for me. And another thing that I didn't allow myself to do is, have stim toys. I got this is like my third time collecting stim toys because I just get rid of them because I lose interest in them, or like not even lose interest in them, but like make myself lose interest in them. Like I'm like, it's weird to play with these. I'm not like in emotional distress. That was a lot of it. Like I thought my stimming and things like that were just for whenever I was like having episodes. And now I realize this is something that I want to do and have the desire to do and have like the bodily need to do all the time. It's just a lot more obvious whenever I am in distress. As a teenager, this is partially because I'm trans too, but I like hated clothes. I hated jeans, I hated uncomfortable things, I hated the shoes, I hated socks, I hated all of it. And now I've pretty much transitioned to like completely wearing like t-shirts, shorts, sandals. Like I don't wear jeans, I don't wear denim. And this is another video that I want to make at some point about avoiding autistic burnout at work, because I think that's what I've gone through in my past two jobs. And I think some of it had to do with, well, obviously masking, but also like wearing jeans, wearing these uncomfortable clothes and shoes that just bothered me all day long. So one of the things that I'm going to do, I'm going back to work on Wednesday. I'm going to get comfortable clothes that meet my sensory needs. I really can't think of a lot of examples for sensory differences. I like my food to be the same temperature. I like my food to be the same texture. Like in salads, if something's too crunchy, it bothers me. That's why I like certain you know, ice cream flavors. I hate nuts in ice cream. Ice cream is soft, nuts are hard. You don't put them together. Um, and like my favorite flavor of ice cream is chocolate chip cookie dough ice cream. I like a specific brand and I eat it all the time. It's the only flavor that I want to eat. Stop telling me to get a different flavor. I don't like it as much. Um, and what I do is I eat the ice cream and then I leave all the cookie dough for last because I don't like the like texture difference of having soft cold ice cream and like biting into cold things is disgusting. Um, I like to eat the cookie dough last because you separate the textures. You separate them. The last thing we're going to talk about is special interests, and I'm very excited because I love them. Oh my god. Papa's like, what's wrong? I feel weird. I really do feel weird, like, stimming. A lot of the times, if I do stim in a video or something, I will cut it out because, I don't know, it's weird and something that I've learned to repress through interactions with people fucking being mean to me. All autistic people are bullied. It's kind of fucked up if you think about it. So I'm going to try to leave in my stimming and not be embarrassed by it and embrace it and do it in future videos because it's cool and normal to stim. So yeah, special interest. I wasn't sure if I had special interests for a long time because I don't have like one thing that I'm obsessed with. I'm obsessed with a lot of different stuff, and I also have like more short-lived hyperfixations, which I think is from ADHD. Like on a certain topic, I'll learn everything about that topic, I'll forget about the topic, and goodbye to that topic. So that's more of a hyperfixation. And then I figured out what my special interests are by just thinking about what do I really, really like, what do I know a lot about, what makes me really happy, and what makes me, you know, happy stim and stuff like that. Those are my special interests. And then I also have interests that I'm really, really like, but I don't consider them special interests because I don't know a lot about them. They don't make me happy stim, blah, blah, blah. And my more like typical interests, I don't like that. I don't like calling it that, but my interests that aren't special interests are like hiking. I really like hiking. I don't know shit about hiking. It's just something that I really like to do. So I'm like running away from the camera. I'm like, don't look at me. So my special interests, I really, really like plushies. I like plushies. I called them stuffed animals as a kid, but I think the word plushie is really cute, but I feel awkward saying it because it doesn't feel natural. Stuffed animals is something that I have liked since I was a kid. I collected Webkins as a kid. I collected Littlest Pet Shops. I think those were the main ones. Maybe a couple Beanie Babies. Polly Pockets. Just all kinds of like little toys and especially stuffed animals. I really, 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 really like realistic stuffed animals that like, oh my god, and I like zoos. I'm like, talk about it in a normal way, but like that's the entire point of this video, and I knew I would get to this point, and I'm honestly like going through a internal conflict with myself, like, is this cringe? But autistic joy is beautiful and I love it. I think what's so autistic about it is that like just the way that I think about the things, like I really like to collect things, I like to collect pictures of things, I like to organize pictures, I like to learn all the different like toy brands and the types of toys that they have. I like to organize them by color and like different types of things. I got really into Squishmallows. I love them. Like they're so cute and they're squishy, which is very autistic, and it's like two things that I like. It's two things that I like. I say that all the time. I get so excited whenever it's like two of my special interests put together. That's like the best thing in the world. Like Minecraft plushies, oh my god. So yeah, I really like them. I really like robots. I love Furbies. I love like I think they're called Ibos. Ibos, is that the pronunciation? There's Mars Cat, there's Metacat, there's the Zoomies. Zoomy cat. I'm not very good at being autistic. I can't remember things exactly. I really like robotics in general, but like robot toys are super duper cool because it's like something that you can personally have. Like you can have your own fucking robot. I love that. There's the Vector robot and Cosmo and Emo, and then there's the Luna bot, which I love so much. It's like the best. It's okay. It's like the best thing about the Vector robot mixed with like the best thing about like the kids' toys robots. Like it's like a little guy. It's just a little guy. Look at this guy. Put a picture of the guy. Look at it. They're so cool. I love AI in general because it's like related to robots. I love ChatGPT. I loved Cleverbot as a kid. Like I just really like it. I really like AI generated images and art, which has been getting on my nerves lately because they keep showing me AI generated pictures of otters, and it just bothers me because it's not an otter. Not an otter. AI otter. Don't want to see it on my Pinterest. Get rid of it. And on my Instagram, it's everywhere. They keep showing me otters specifically. It's weird. I really like the Boston Dynamics robots. They are so cool. They are made for the fucking military, which is disgusting, and they've been selling them to cops and shit, which is disgusting. Bootlicker bullshit, but like the technology itself is so cool, and the robots look really funny, and they make really funny videos, which in hindsight are probably just propaganda, but like they're very cool. They can like navigate the world by themselves. They can learn. They can go over obstacles. Like that's the coolest shit in the entire world. Like it's artificial intelligence. Don't we love? Like that's fucking cool. It's a thing that's not alive that's acting like it's alive. It's a thing that's not alive that's learning. And I love them. And they're so cute and metal. Metal. Oh, I'm very into animals. One of the first questions that I ask people whenever I talk to them is, what's your favorite animal? What are your top 5 favorite animals? Which just, I'm realizing now is a weird question to ask. And I'm always like, oh, mine are like orangutans, snub-nosed monkeys, golden snub-nosed monkeys, and like basically all different types of monkeys and apes. I'm really into like squirrel monkeys, gorillas, obviously, dogs, all the different types of dogs, like chihuahuas, and like I really like bully breeds. I love so many dogs. I'm very obsessed with dogs ever since I got Bubba. Um, yeah, I'm also very into animal care. Like I love to think about all the different types of like pet animals that I like and like arrange them by different categories. Like this is my favorite amphibian, this is my favorite gecko, this is my favorite, my top 5 favorite geckos, these are my top 5 favorite, small animals, these are my top whatever. And I like making collages of my favorite things. Yeah, and I know a lot of stuff about like pet care. Like if somebody came to me and was like, here's the hamster, would be like, okay, I need this size enclosure, they need like 12 inches of bedding, and like they eat hamster food, and like they eat hamster food. I don't want to like talk about the actual care requirements for animals because it's probably outdated because it's shit that I learned whenever I was like hyper fixated on animal care in like 2013. And there's always advancements in animal care and enrichment and blah blah blah. But yeah, you could give me just about any animal and I'll be like, here's the care requirements for it. And no, don't give me an animal. I'm not gonna do it. Because it's very outdated. Yeah, I think I'm gonna end the video here because I'm like running out of things to talk about and I'm getting tired because it's very hot. So yeah, that was everything. If you have any questions or comments or anything, or if you want to talk about your special interests or like how to distinguish what's the special interest, let me know. And I love you, and I hope you have a beautiful day. Bye. I'm biting into a popsicle.